Self-Synergetic Mind, post number 30, X, May 16, 2024. Christina Moriarty, Universe Citizen, consciously focusing on Synergetics 130 through Synergetics 187. If it is not, thinking self-synergetic mind's integral metaphysical intellect consciously employing its physical brain's memory, storing, recollecting capacity, who is the information-gathering cosmic or local problem solver. Thinking self can be differentiated from non-thinking self, which functions as a tuned-out observer when the environmental articulations do not necessitate a significant reason to activate the integral multidimensional problem-solving propensities. This means to say, momentarily, nothing out of the ordinary physical environments manifest reality to which observing self has already adapted aspects of its tolerance magnitude that is satisfied to whatever those degrees of certainty are required for taking the coexisting otherness, self, and environment for granted. The synergetic mind's tolerance magnitude of the reenacting articulations eventually into its integral progressive knowledge comes from the reduction of error as the residual inaccuracies of observations over one's lifetime question what was once a comparatively familiar trusted event scenario. However, the word progressive in the most recently political misuse of it turns out to be an egregious misnomer that ought to be correctly identified as regressive, especially since reduction of error has been covertly transformed into concealing deceptions in a convoluted blame game, weaponizing of the J factor by the P factor's conflicted self-identity to the extremes of gender dystopia utopia. It mindlessly destroys generations of humans at their childhood to adulthood natural development as the myopic agenda controllers manipulate information in profit-motivating agreements and transactions that easily attracts the relative inhumanity, a type of indifference that adheres to violating what ought to be the synergetic mind's regenerating realization of the inherently inviolable integrity of the individual. Apparently, profit motivations are permitted by the easily induced positions of power throughout the self-corrupting governmental authorities situated thus by maliciously controlling the election process in order to manipulate freedoms favoring the distributive lines of supply regardless of what is supplied. The contemporary constituents actually are the misbehaving parts that cannot predict the most economical way a system can behave relative to unity and self in universe. Awareness of universe as the whole, WHOLE, is what the anticipatory governmental system founders have yet to acknowledge correlatively to their synergetic mind. Therefore, do not commence writing the evolving government's precious documents by starting with universe, the whole, WHOLE. As we can read in Synergetics 150, synergy of synergies, not only is universe omni-synergetic, no single part of experience will ever be able to explain the behavior of the whole, WHOLE. Ironically and perniciously, detrimentally, the J factor's lack of wisdom during political exemplifications, making an example of specifically targeted enemies of the state, dole out cruel and unusual punishment devoid of this simple truth. To exaggerate reactionary emulations, the self-deception seeps into every potential interpretation by the constituent populations, who likewise are always and only parts of the whole, WHOLE, dynamic, interacting, intertransacting event scenario. Typically, those mindsets have been indoctrinated into the PRJW governing systems. Our 21st century humanity is is disassociated from our individual synergetic mind's knowledge of the system employed by nature and mostly remains ignorant that power always goes with the line of supply. Therefore, converting one's potential comprehension from abject ignorance to understanding one's own synergetic mind is critical to getting the synergetics information out in time for people tuning into omni-rational relevance. It always concerns activity and inactivity, collecting and dispersing, concentric and eccentric, concentration and diffusion, conceiving and observing, continuous and discontinuous, converging and diverging, cosmic and local, critical, proximity and innocuousness, what is distributed and inhibited, while tuning out all that has been surreptitiously imposed specifically respecting education at the earliest level. Ruling out natural events in the quest to realign intuition to its potential awareness of tuning in relevance and tuning out irrelevance is temporary. The focus here is learning about, in quotes, the relative energy investment values of nature's geometrical hierarchy of cosmically primitive structurings and intertransformings, end quote. The geometry of general systems, R. Buckminster Fuller. Ruling in or ruling out natural events of the physical environment's tolerance magnitudes that human survival naturally reacts to, all that can be differentiated from what the PRJWB SHM politics, religion, justice, war, belief system, hierarchical matrix imposes. Nature discloses time-related energy events beyond thinking self's ordinary functions. As a local problem solver whose survival is always at stake in every case, so too would be the individual synergetic mind's anticipatory design science that references omnidirectional, omnirational universe as a communicating consciousness evolution function. Metaphysical intellect functions include generalized conception fields of thought throughout TUCB. Albeit barely cognizant, omnirational thought is at a rudimentary learning level. Perhaps it is equivalent to the lag rates between apprehension and comprehension, where at the 6 positive and or 6 negative degrees of freedom come into synergetic mind's metaphysical generalized conceptioning fields of thought. If so, it would be correlatively to anticipatory design science, thought, and language that intends knowledgeably communicating synergetic mind's awareness of the tetrahedron and vector equilibrium, subsequent to being apprised of this metaphysical propensity to conceptualize systems independent of size, time, space, sizing. Such information comes from the mathematician, geometer, science-minded pursuit of knowledge to such extent as to build physical models as topological, geometrical, angle, and frequency measurable proofs that stand the test of time in variously demanding human event scenarios. The event scenarios occur over millenniums of the residual inaccuracies of observation and articulation and are carried over and into the partially overlapping generations who inherit those interpretations, adding their interpretations. Consequent inherited ignorance of the generalized conception fields of thought manifest when omnisynergetic universe awareness is omitted from metaphysical intellect's problem-solving propensities. This millenniums-old ignorance of the universe's synergetic mind continues interpretively operating in the contemporary human event scenarios. Unwanted, but not yet identified malfeasant event scenarios are manifest in the PRJW politics, religion, justice, war, complementary business opportunities. Those scenarios likewise are not yet resolved to any degree of a discernible nucleus. It will ever be underway until the referential field of knowledge can accurately inform our humanity of their own integral synergetic mind, which is not of the PRJWBSHM, politics, religion, justice, war, belief, system, hierarchical matrix. Anyone can imagine the worst of it has yet to come. As examples of the malfeasant behavior causes enormous cost to be paid by the overlong, illogically induced, complacent mind. The complacent mind cannot be the same as the synergetic mind, especially when it comes to humans oscillating between their metaphysical propensities and physical incarnations without knowing of the vector equilibrium, as the equanimity model is of the UIVMOFCH universe, isotropic vector matrix operational field cosmic hierarchy. As if the intertransactive, interrelating, intertransforming energy synergy fields of potential cognition can be taken for granted and not persistently reactivated throughout TUCP. Relative to synergetic minds, anticipatory design science, cosmic to local integral consciousness evolutions, environment of systemic thought. The tendency in the popularized communications process seems to focus on abbreviating words in the train of thought. Is this because most of what is being conveyed does not have to refer to omnirational reality? Omnirational reality would be an integral coexisting function between humans of a mind, each in his own separate star, as Rudyard Kipling imagined when writing about Earth's last picture being painted. But then every star is an interrelating tetrahedron of significant base to altitude dimensioning, where at a minimum of 4 vertexes, 4 points, as 4 equiradius spheres are wholly WHOLLY. Relevant to systemic minds, metaphysical generalized conceptioning fields of omnirational, omniconsiderate thought. So the cooperating mind in the union of reliably cogitating cosmic to local problem solvers in common refer to the most economical way systems can behave relative to unity and self in universe. Anyone who is unaware of the synergetic mind's metaphysical generalized conceptioning as an integral aptitude could be persuaded to admire what its mentality does not yet comprehend. This means to say that the synergetic mind has not yet been self-identified as an essential attribute that cannot belong to anyone else. But when everyone is not apprised of this inherent conceptual reasoning ability, substitutions can be adopted, which explains the fantastic elaborations that are contrived to attract the undecided mentality, the mind that has absolutely no knowledge of the synergetic universe. Such lack of knowledge typifies academia's education criteria that promote whatever funds its various departments with no qualms to play that self-destructive, otherness indifferent, intercontradictory actions and reactions, resulting in another generation of myopic problem makers who are devoid of their integral cosmic to local problem-solving efficiencies, not knowing What is readily available in our Buckminster Fuller Synergetics? Synergetics is a book about models, writes R. Buckminster Fuller in Synergetics 900.21. The models are humanly, lucidly, conceptual, primitively simple, and long awaited by intuition's natural inclinations that have always been attracted to the TLBSWME: truth, love, beauty, symmetry, wisdom, maximum economy, as natural synergetics minds metaphysically inclined conceptualities. TUCP, by the way, is the universal communications process. Keep tuning in as cosmic to local relevance becomes clearer by the day. Thank you.